Hi friends, welcome back. I hope your vacation was great. Today we're going to start investigating fractions. You probably have heard about fractions before and you probably know a little bit about them. We're going to start pretty basic though. Today for the lesson you're going to need some paper and something to color with, a crayon or a pencil or a marker. Don't be too fussy, but you should pause the video now and come back with a piece of paper and something to color with. Okay. Great, welcome back. So I want to talk about the word fraction first. I've written the word fraction here and I underlined this part fract because it means broken. So fractions are broken. They're pieces of a whole. A fraction is not a whole thing. Well, it can be, naming a whole, but it's something broken into pieces, equal pieces. The pieces have to be exactly the same size. That's super important. So I was wondering if you could think of some words that start with frac and mean broken. Maybe you've broken your arm or your leg before or heard of somebody who broke their wrist. Do you know what they had? Yep, they had a fracture. That's right. So fracture means to break. It's a broken bone. A fracture is broken, and a fraction is a broken part too. Maybe you remember when we were studying light way back when we were still in school, and we had that week and we studied about light and we learned about the word refract. Maybe you remember it, maybe you don't, but it's when light is slowed down by something and it gets broken into its rainbow parts. So to refract is to break the light, excuse me, into its parts, into the rainbow parts. So we can't see the colors when light's traveling really fast, but when we bend it like through a prism or through the raindrops in the sky, then it breaks it into its color parts, so it's broken. So fractions are broken parts, and that's really a helpful thing to remember. Okay, so let's do some fraction making. I'm going to put this down and take your piece of paper. Now, it could be a piece of paper with writing on it. It doesn't matter because it's just a model that we're building, and I have a lot of different pieces of paper here that I collected in my house. Make sure that you ask your parents before you take a piece of paper to make your fraction models with, but it doesn't matter what size it is. So I'm going to take this piece of paper that has writing on it, and I'm going to do what's called put it through the half machine. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to fold it exactly in half. I'm going to be super, super careful about how the edges are lined up. So if you can do that, that will be great. So you folded the paper in half. Everybody knows how to do that. You've done that all your life. So now we're going to fold it again. We're going to fold it in half again like this. And again, I'm going to be really, really careful and make sure that the edges are even. So you folded your paper in half, and then you folded your paper in half again. And I don't know what size your paper is, but you'll have something that looks like this. So I'm going to put it down on the table, and I'm going to take my crayon, and I'm just going to quickly color that whole piece that's showing. And I'm not going to be fussy about it. I'm not going to be an artist. I'm not going to be artistic. I'm just going to color it. You see what I did? Right. The light is a little funny there. Now I think you can see better. Okay, so I have folded this part, and now I'm going to think about, I wonder how many parts there are when I open it up. You probably can guess. Let's open up the paper and take a look at how many parts there are. And I think you'll agree with me that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. 4 parts. So what portion of the whole paper got colored? Well, that's a fraction. So the portion is 1. 1 is colored out of 4. There are 4 parts and 1 is colored. That's called 1 out of 4. That's a fraction. 1 part is colored out of 4. So we don't say how many are colored. 1. We say what portion of the whole paper is covered. What part of the whole paper? Because these parts are equal, then we can say 1 part out of 4 equal parts is covered. So that's how I read this fraction, 1 out of 4. Or you can say 1/4, which you've probably heard lots of times. 1 out of 4, 1/4. So I have some more paper, and I thought that I could do that at least one more time. I think I'll do it with this little one. Now remember, it doesn't matter if it has writing on it. I'm going to put it in half really carefully. So now I folded it in half. I'm going to fold it in half again. A little tricky doing it in the air. Okay, so I have folded it now. I'm going to take my crayon, like I did last time, and color. Do it a little bit darker. Sorry, it's the only crayon I could find in my house. So maybe you can see that it's colored. I'm going to open it up. You can see that there are 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that each of the parts is the same size. In fact, if I took scissors and cut along the lines and put these on top of each other, they would match just right. But what portion of the paper is colored? Well, 1 part out of 4. Now some kids like to say 1 out of 3, and that's not correct, because with a fraction, we're talking about how much of the whole paper is covered, what portion. So the whole paper has 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 of those is colored. So it is 1 out of 4. Here's something cool to notice about 1/4, or 1 out of 4. It's not always the same, is it? 1/4 is much bigger here than here. A lot of grown-ups don't know that, but 1/4 is not actually a number. It's an idea about a space, or an idea about a set, or an idea about a line, that 1 out of 4 equal parts is colored here. And it could be very, very giant, or it could be very, very tiny. 1/4. So if I were to color another one of these, now the question would be, what portion of the paper is covered? And I can see that the light's funny on that. It's not working. There. So what portion of the paper is colored? Well, how many parts are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 parts, and how many of the parts are colored? 1, 2. So this is the fraction we write. 2 are colored out of 4. 2 are colored out of 4 is also known as 2/4. Fourths. I hope I'm not spitting on the camera. 2 out of 4. 2/4. So let's color one more, and I bet you could guess what's going to be the name of that space that's colored. What portion of the whole is covered? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and 1, 2, 3 are colored. So that is known as 3 colored out of 4 pieces. 3/4. That's right. Now, if I color all of them, then that fraction is 4 out of 4. 4 parts are colored out of 4. 4/4. And you know that's the whole thing. So we would say that 4/4 is equal to 1 whole. It's equal to the whole thing. It's not showing here. Let me help. 4/4 is the same as 1 whole. Yep. So you could practice that with your paper. 1 out of 4, 1/4. 2 out of 4, 2/4. 3 out of 4, 3/4. 4 out of 4, 4/4. We could take a piece of paper. We don't always have to cut it in fourths, do we? So maybe I would just fold it in half. And look for my eraser. And now I'm going to use a marker that shows up a little better. And I'm going to color one portion. And open it up. think you already know this fraction. You've been saying it all of your life. What part is shaded out of the whole thing? 1 is shaded out of 2 pieces. 1/2 of the piece is shaded. 1 out of 2 is also known as 1/2. So let's color both pieces. And now I think you can see that there are 2 pieces and both of them are colored. So we would write 2 pieces are colored out of 2 pieces altogether, which we would say 2 halves. 2 halves are colored. And guess what? That's the whole thing. So 2 halves is the same as 1 whole. 4/4 was the same as 1 whole. And 2 halves is the same as 1 whole. Getting to see a pattern there. I know you're catching on. So that's just a very quick introduction to fractions today. And you could fold paper in other ways. See if you could fold a piece of paper in 3 equal parts. It's a challenge. It's really, 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 really hard to get them to come out exactly the same. If you folded a piece of paper like this, and you got 3 parts, just make sure you can see where the folds are. See, I have 3 parts, but that is not folded into 3 equal parts. This part is much bigger than this part. So I would have to throw that away because I did not succeed. But maybe you could try to fold a piece of paper in 3 equal parts. It's a big challenge. If we were at school, you would spend a long time trying that with me. Okay, so I wanted to tell you about tomorrow. We're going to be doing fractions in the kitchen. So I'm going to bend over and pick up a few things off the floor that I have here. I went down to the kitchen and I made a collection of things, and I want you to ask your parents to help you so that maybe you could join me in the kitchen and we could look at fractions there, because that is the primary place that most people use fractions in their daily lives. I use fractions every day when I'm cooking. I cook a lot. So you might have something that looks like this at home, and you can see that it has some fractions on the handles. You might have a set that's all the same like this, and there might be fractions here, or there might be fractions on the bottom. Sorry about that. There it is. And I have another set. I do a lot of cooking. But there might be some spoons in the cupboard or in a drawer that look like this, and they have fractions on them too. And additionally, there are cups like this in many people's houses that have fractions written on the side. They also have the other system, the metric system on it. We will be dealing with the side that has the fractions on it. I have a bigger one. I have many different sizes of these. Some are plastic, some are glass. So I guess the thing to do is to ask your parents, can they help you make a little collection of this so that we can work with fractions tomorrow in the kitchen and see that fractions isn't always just about folding paper, but it's also sometimes about measuring. And we measure dry things and wet things, and it's really fun. And you will use this all your life when you're cooking, promise. All right, that was fun introducing fractions to you today. We're going to spend all week talking about fractions and learning about them. They're really, really great. Good to see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.